Hey guys, Beasley here with Tennessee Wildlife Federation and the Hunting and Fishing Academy. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about duck calling. A big part of the Hunting and Fishing Academy is teaching our program participants the skills that they need to be successful in the field. And when you're talking about duck hunting, duck calling is definitely one of the tools that you want to have in your arsenal or in your bag to be able to go out and be successful as a waterfowl hunter. The first type of call that we're going to use as a new hunter is learning how to quack. Again, we're implementing the sounds of a hen mallard sitting on the water calling to other ducks. So when I get ready to make my first quack, one of the first things that you should know about using a duck call is that it's not 100% air. I don't want to just blow straight air through the call because that's not going to make the sound that I want to hear. It's a combination of air, using your tongue, using your chest and your diaphragm, and even a little bit of your throat. So it can be a little bit tricky. It takes a lot of practice to figure out how to use these and how to make them sound like a real duck. So don't be discouraged if you pick one up for the first time and it doesn't sound the way you want it to sound. This takes a lot of practice, and what we're trying to do here is just give you the confidence to start playing around with a couple calls. So hopefully later on down the road, you'll be a little bit better equipped to actually use them in the field. So if I was going to go and make a simple quack, the first thing that I'm going to do again is I'm going to put my mouth here at the end of the barrel. The sound will only go one way. So you put your mouth here on the end of the barrel. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to hold it right here over the insert, right? You can use this hand to kind of dictate different inflections and sounds that as you're blowing through the call. But for the most part, you don't need to be moving it too much. You can make most of the sounds with a combination of air in your chest, like we talked about a second ago. So if I'm going to make a simple quack, the first thing that I'm going to do is add a little bit of a hum and almost like a grunt paired with short bursts of air. It's not a lot of air. I'm not filling my cheeks full of air. It's just little bursts of air at once paired with a little bit of a grunt and some hum from your chest and your diaphragm. And what it would sound like is something like this. So that's a quack. The first thing that you want to learn as a new duck hunter, as a new duck caller, is how to quack. That's the very first tool that you're going to have to learn, and once you master that, you'll be able to build on top of it. Once you've mastered the quack and you can make individual quacks, what we're going to do next is we're going to incorporate what we call a welcoming call or a greeting call. And you're going to use this call almost as like you see ducks coming over. That first instance, you might blow a welcoming call just to let them know you're in the area, to hopefully give them, an opportunity to make a closer look at your decoy spread. And so what we're trying to do again with this welcoming call is string multiple quacks together in quick succession to implement what a hen mallard sounds like sitting on the water. Generally, we're going for 4 to 5 quacks at once. You can use more, you can use less. It just depends on the circumstance. But generally, it's going to sound something like this. That's a welcoming call. If I see ducks heading towards my blind or heading towards my decoy spread, that's probably the first call that I'm going to do, just to let them know, hey, I'm in the area, come give me a closer look. Something like that. One of the last calls that you might want to start practicing with once you've mastered the quack and a welcoming call is a feeding call. This one can be a little bit trickier for newer duck callers, but it doesn't have to be. What we're trying to implement in this scenario is just ducks on the water feeding. We want the other ducks that are flying over our decoy spread to have the impression that there's food down here and we're just hanging out, eating, having a good time, right? And so what we're doing with a feeding call is that we're making short little quacks, shorter than what a normal quack would be, and kind of stringing them together to where it sounds almost like a chuckle. And you can do this through a variety of ways. Instead of blowing, a consistent amount of air through the call, you might mix it up a little bit. It's going to be short little tick, 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 things like that. And so that's the sound that I'm making when I blow into the call, is tick, 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 tick. And when I do that, it sounds something like this. It's gonna sound something like that. You might hear some duck hunters do it a little bit faster, some a little bit slower, and you can kind of mix it up depending on the circumstances and where you're hunting. But for the most part, you're just gonna string together a couple of those little chucks, little clucks. Just and you can speed that up once you practice it a little bit more to where it sounds something similar to this sound. That can be a little bit more challenging to do, and what I'm doing to make that faster feeding call is putting my tongue to the roof of my mouth and fluttering my tongue as I'm putting short bursts of air through it. You don't need to have that ability. If you just do short little chuckles, that's gonna be just fine to get across the basic message of a feeding call. Once you've mastered using a hen mallard call, or even if you don't feel super proficient with it yet, one of the calls that you can use that is honestly very underutilized by many hunters is what we call a drake whistle. This is a great call for beginners to start practicing with because it's easy to use. You can make the sounds of several different ducks, one of those being a drake mallard. So earlier when we talked about making quacks, welcoming calls, that's the sounds that a hen mallard would make. A drake mallard makes more of a low kind of whistling sound. It sounds something like this. Sounds something like that. And what I'm doing to make that call is that I'm taking this little drake whistle right here. I'm gonna put my index finger in the end of it and hold it just like this. You can see my index finger is inside the whistle. And I'm just gonna make a humming noise as I blow very few amounts of air through the call. So it's gonna sound something like short little whistles like that. For new hunters that aren't quite comfortable blowing a hen mallard call yet, this can be a really easy tool for you to have in your blind bag that will attract ducks, especially when they're already at close distances. Blowing a drake whistle is something that anybody can do. It's super easy. And if you're not super comfortable blowing a hen call just yet, this could be a great place to start. Another great thing about using one of these whistles is that you can make sounds of different species of ducks, right? In most cases, when people are talking about duck calls, we're making mallard sounds, but there's all different types of ducks that make all different types of sounds, right? And so one of the ways that you can utilize this whistle is to make the sounds that, teal, widgeon, pintail, those are all different types of ducks that you can make sounds with this whistle that would appeal to those types of species as well. First one I mentioned was teal. You can make the sounds of a drake teal using this whistle as well. And I'm gonna hold it the same exact way as I did when I make the drake whistle. I'm gonna put my index finger in the call and I'm just gonna make short little peeps with it. Just blowing short little amounts of air through the call to make a very, kind of like a peeping whistle sound. It's gonna sound like this. All I'm going is tsk, tsk. That's all I'm doing. And that's what a teal sounds like. You can also make the sounds or the whistle of a widgeon. And again, just hold it the same way. It sounds like this. That's what a widgeon sounds like. And right there, you've got one call. You've already learned how to call 3 different types of ducks. And if you get the hang of those, you can even make a pintail whistle with this call as well. And the way that I'm gonna do this, it can be a little bit more tricky. I'm gonna try to flutter that little dangly thing in the back of my throat as I'm blowing air through it to give it kind of a rolling sound. If you can't do that, you can also kind of flutter your tongue as you're blowing air through it. So it sounds something like this. It's a pintail. So right there, if you're not comfortable or you're not super confident just yet with blowing a hen mallard call, if you have a drake whistle right there, you can make all different kinds of sounds that appeal to ducks just the same. So that's just a couple quick little tips if you're new to duck calling to check out. Like I said, the pintail whistle, the drake whistle, whatever you want to call it, super underutilized. It can be a great call for beginners to learn with. And then as you work your way up to the hen mallard calls that you're going to see most hunters using. That's just a few helpful tips for you guys in beginning to learn how to duck call. We hope this has been a helpful video for you and hope that it's at least given you the confidence to pick up a duck call and start playing around with it. Our Hunting and Fishing Academy exists to help teach you guys these skills. We have workshops all across the state designed to help give you hands-on experience, hands-on practice in learning these different skills. We have these all across the state for different types of species. There's definitely one near you. So check out our website to learn more about those experiences and how you can get involved with our Hunting and Fishing Academy. Give us a follow on our socials as well, and let us know how we can help. We want to teach you guys and help where we can. So reach out to us, check out our workshops, all the different upcoming experiences across the state. They're designed to help you, so let us know how we can do that. And if you haven't already done so, you can go to gooutdoorstennessee.com to buy all your hunting and fishing licenses that you will need to get outdoors this season. Thanks, and see you soon.